this English lesson, we'll read a news article together from The Guardian. As we read the article, you'll learn advanced English vocabulary in context. You'll learn the correct grammar and the correct pronunciation at the same time. This is an advanced article discussing the happiest man in the world. If you can understand this article, your English is excellent. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started.
First, I'll read the headline. A 69-year-old monk who scientists call the world's happiest man says the secret to being happy takes just 15 minutes a day. Do you have 15 minutes a day? Well, you can become the world's happiest person as well. Maybe. Let's see in this article. So first of all, notice a 69-year-old. This functions as an adjective because if you remove it, it's a monk who scientists call. Now we're giving more information. You could use a nationality, a British monk, perhaps. Now here they're using an age, a 69-year-old. We don't modify adjectives by making them singular or plural. That's why there's no S. So a 69-year-old monk who scientists call the world's happiest man says the secret to being. Notice this, because it's the secret to something. The secret to learning English is, what do you think? The secret to learning, the secret to becoming a confident English speaker is, maybe the secret to learning English is to watch, notice that infinitive, to watch a JForrest English video a day, because that's about 15 minutes a day. So if you practice 15 minutes a day, well, then you'll be confident. What do you think? If you agree, put that's right, Jennifer, that's right, put that's right in the comments. And you are going to learn what you can do in just 15 minutes a day to become the world's happiest person. Now, don't worry about taking these notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now, let's continue. Who is the happiest man in the world? If you Google it, the name Matthew Ricard pops up. What do you notice about how this word is being used? What part of speech is this? Of course, you know Google as a noun. You use Google. But in this case, it's being used as a verb, which native speakers love doing. Do you know who the happiest man in the world is? Do you know who the best YouTube English teacher is? Just Google it. Google it. So I'm using that as a verb in the imperative. Now, if you use Google as the noun, you would say just look up, and here your verb is to look up, the phrasal verb. Just look up the answer on Google. Now remember, Google is being used as a verb, so in the past simple, you would need that ed. I Googled it. I searched for the answer on Google. You can look up information on Google, you can search for information on Google, or you can just Google it, which makes you sound like a native speaker. Now, also, to make you sound like a native speaker, you can learn and use more phrasal verbs like this one, pop up. The name Matthew Ricard pops up. To pop up, this is our phrasal verb. This means to appear suddenly or unexpectedly. For example, I was watching a JForrest English video and my boss popped up. So your boss appeared, but you weren't expecting your boss. And you were doing something you shouldn't have been doing. You should have been working, but instead you were watching my video. Thank you very much. Because remember, this is a verb, so this is in the past simple. My boss popped up. And isn't that always the case? Someone pops up when you least expect them to and when you definitely don't want them to. Let's continue. Matthew Ricard, 69, here they're saying his age, 69, is a Tibetan Buddhist monk originally from France who has been called the world's happiest man. We already know this information. It was summarized in the headline, and they're just stating it in a different way. That's because he participated in a 12-year brain study on meditation and compassion led by a neuroscientist from the University of Wisconsin. Notice this pronunciation, Wisconsin, Wisconsin. Richard Davidson. So this is the neuroscientist who led the 12-year brain study. We have another adjective. Again, we know it's an adjective. For one, it comes before the noun, which is study or brain study. You could consider brain to be another adjective, which tells you what type of study. And I also know it's an adjective because there's no S on the noun year, because adjectives don't take a singular or plural form. And notice this preposition. When you learn a new word like to participate, you should always learn how to use it in a full sentence because you participate in something. For example, I would love to participate in, because this is something, in the Finally Fluent Academy, which is a course that I offer. Now, you could say, I would love to participate in the conference, in the meeting, in the course, or whatever else you're participating in. But that preposition in is part of the verb to participate in something.
Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, the movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson.
Davidson, remember, he's the neuroscientist who led this study. Davidson hooked up Ricard's head to 256 sensors. Hook up is another phrasal verb, very useful because it means to link or connect. Now, the verb is hook, so that's what you conjugate here in the past simple, and then the preposition is up. But remember, just like participate in, you need to understand the full grammar to be able to use this because you hook something up to something else, and you link something to something else, you connect something to something else. So this preposition to is very important. Now, we use this a lot with technology. Where should we hook up the modem? Where should we connect the modem? Oh, maybe hook it up right here. This is a great spot, or hook it up over there. And you can use this with a lot of electronic devices. Davidson hooked up Ricard's head to 256 sensors and found that when Ricard was meditating on compassion, his mind was unusually light. Ricard, who says he sometimes meditates for entire days without getting bored, admits he's a generally happy person. Let's look at this, without getting bored. Let's review to get bored. You could also say to become bored. Native speakers prefer get, but you can also say become. In this case, getting, it's used in the ing form because without is a preposition and we use the gerund verb after prepositions. To get or become bored, this means that you lose interest. So he can meditate for entire days without losing interest, without getting bored, without becoming bored. Now, I could say, I hope you don't get bored in this lesson. I hope you don't lose interest. Now, get refers to the transition from not bored to bored. Interested to not interested. That's how we use get or become. Now, to talk about your current state, just use the verb to be bored. But hopefully you say, don't worry, Jennifer, I'm not bored, bored, bored. I'm not bored. To be as a contraction, and then you're negative. I'm not bored. Hopefully you would say that. But you could also be honest and say, this lesson is boring. So notice here, the structure is to be boring, to be boring. And this means not interesting. Now, if something is boring, not interesting, then you will be bored. Okay? I'm bored. This lesson is boring, so the result, I'm bored. So to be bored describes your current state because something or someone, hopefully not me or my lesson, is boring. So hopefully you would say this. Please reassure me. Put this in the comments. I'm not bored. I'm not bored. And if you are bored, please be honest and let me know, what can I do to make this lesson less boring, so therefore more interesting? Okay. He admits he's a generally happy person. So generally happy, by using generally, it acknowledges that sometimes he's not happy, but mostly he is happy. Generally happy person. Although he feels his happiest man title is a media-driven overstatement. An overstatement means that something is exaggerated. The way it's stated is more than the truth. It exceeds the truth. You are the world's happiest man. Really? Am I really the world's happiest man? Or does that exceed the reality? Is that exaggerated? He says it's a media-driven overstatement. So media-driven means driven by the media. And if it's driven by the media, it means it's influenced by the media. It only exists because of articles like this, headlines like this, who say he's the world's happiest man. The media created this. Here's his advice for how to be happy. All right, we've come to his advice, so pay close attention. This is the interesting part. You shouldn't be bored right now. Stop thinking me, me, me. Me, me, me. Notice how it's me and not I. Stop thinking I, because the subject is I. I want to. I need to. I like this. I don't like this. I'm bored. But the expression in English uses me. Here's how you could use this in a real context, because native speakers do use this. It was supposed to be a group brainstorming session, but Richard talked the entire time. It was me, me, me. Now notice, when you say me, 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 you probably say it with a little bit of an attitude because it's a negative thing. Oh, it was me, me, me the whole time. But even though the person is saying me, 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 he's actually talking about Richard. So it's imagining that Richard was saying me, me, me. It's all about me, but I'm Richard. So even though we vocalize it as me, 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 we're often referring to another person. And this just means yourself. So stop thinking about yourself, or in the context of Richard, he should stop thinking about himself. It's not all me, me, me. All right, so that's the first thing. Stop thinking me, me, me. Stop thinking about yourself. What do you think about that? That's the secret to being happy. To Ricard, the answer comes down to altruism. Notice the pronunciation here. We have the word true-ism. Put that together, truism. Truism. That's a truism. That's something that is true. And then you add altruism. Altruism. Altruism, this is the noun, and it's when you're more focused on others than yourself. The adjective would be altruistic, but the noun is altruism. So the answer comes down to altruism. Notice how something, the answer comes down to. When something comes down to something, it means that it's the most important factor or consideration. So he's saying that altruism is the most important factor or consideration of being happy. Now, you could say successfully learning English. This is the first something. Successfully learning English comes down to, I have comes because this is conjugated as it or this. So gerund statements are always conjugated as it or this in the singular. This, it, comes down to. Now you can have two things, a noun, motivation, or you can have a gerund verb, being motivated. And I honestly believe this is true because if you have a strong enough motivation, you will do what it takes to successfully learn English. But if you're not that committed, then you just won't put in the time and effort that's required. But that's my personal opinion. The reason why altruism is so important to happiness, the reason is because thinking about yourself, me, about yourself and how to make things better for yourself all the time is exhausting, stressful, and ultimately leads to unhappiness. Interesting perspective. Notice how I just said, interesting perspective. You could say, like I did, interesting perspective. The full sentence would be that is what you just said. That's an interesting perspective. That's an interesting point. That's an interesting opinion. And you can add on or simply say, I've never thought about it like that before. I've never thought about it like that before, which is a very common thing to say when learning, hearing, receiving new information. If you want to be happy, which of course we all do, if you want to be happy, Ricard says you should strive to be benevolent, which will not only make you feel better, but it will also make others like you better. The verb strive means to try really hard. Strive to be benevolent. Try really hard to be benevolent. And when you're benevolent, you're kind, you have goodwill towards others, you have this desire to help others. It's similar to altruism, but altruism is entirely focused on others, but they are quite similar. Strive to be benevolent, which will not only make you feel better, but it will also make others like you better. Well, of course, if you're kind to others, they'll like you better. If you have a desire to help others, they'll like you better. That makes sense, right? Would you agree? That's not to say you should let other people take advantage of you. Ricard warns, but you should generally strive to be kind within reason. So again, generally, this means most of the time, but of course there may be situations where you're not benevolent. You are thinking me, but generally you should strive to be kind within reason. Within reason is saying that you'll act in a way that's sensible or practical. So someone might say, we'll do everything we can to help you within reason. They're saying, well, I'm not going to break a law to help you. I'm not going to spend millions of dollars or maybe even hundreds of dollars to help you. It has to be reasonable, a reasonable amount of help. But we'll do everything we can to help you within reason. Okay, so how does one train their mind to be happier? The ultimate question. Are you ready for it? Just spend 15 continuous minutes a day thinking happy thoughts. Well, how simple is that? You have 15 minutes a day and you can think happy thoughts, right? Now, continuous means without stopping. So don't think happy thoughts for 3 minutes and then go back to being stressed and overwhelmed and, oh, I'm never going to learn English. My English is terrible. Are those happy thoughts? No, they're not. So don't think 3 minutes of happy thoughts, 7 minutes of unhappy thoughts, 3 more minutes of happy thoughts. It means 15 continuous minutes. Set your timer for 15 minutes and only think happy thoughts. That would be continuous. What do you think? If the secret to being happy truly is spending 15 continuous minutes a day thinking happy thoughts, is that something that you can do? If it is, put that's doable. This is how a native speaker would say, I can do that. That's doable. So if your boss asks you, can you finish this by 5 p.m.? Yep, that's doable. That's doable. I can do that. I have the ability to do that. So what do you think? Is this doable? Put that's doable, that's doable, I can do it, that's doable. Put that in the comments. And now you have the secret to happiness. How awesome is that? Now what I'll do is I'll read the article from start to finish, and this time you can focus on my pronunciation. A 69-year-old monk, who scientists call the world's happiest man, says the secret to being happy takes just 15 minutes a day. Who is the happiest man in the world? If you Google it, the name Mathieu Ricard pops up. Mathieu Ricard, 69, is a Tibetan Buddhist monk originally from France who has been called the world's happiest man. That's because he participated in a 12-year brain study on meditation and compassion led by a neuroscientist from the University of Wisconsin, Richard Davidson. Davidson hooked up Ricard's head to 256 sensors and found that when Ricard was meditating on compassion, his mind was unusually light. Ricard, who says he sometimes meditates for entire days without getting bored, admits he's a generally happy person, although he feels his happiest man title is a media-driven overstatement. Here's his advice for how to be happy. Stop thinking me, me, me. To Ricard, the answer comes down to altruism. The reason is because thinking about yourself and how to make things better for yourself all the time is exhausting, stressful, and ultimately leads to unhappiness. If you want to be happy, Ricard says you should strive to be benevolent, which will not only make you feel better, but it will also make others like you better. That's not to say you should let other people take advantage of you, Ricard warns, but you should generally strive to be kind within reason. Okay, so how does one train their mind to be happier? Just spend 15 continuous minutes a day thinking happy thoughts.
Did you like this lesson? Do you want me to make more lessons just like this? If you do, then put more news, more news, more news in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And I have another lesson I know you'll love, so make sure you watch it right now.